Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SoFlo Soccer channel here on YouTube. I'm your host, Matt, as always, and welcome to a brand new segment that I want to start implementing on this channel called the SoFlo Soccer Show. Now, on this show, we're in beta, as you will, right? Like, we're still testing, right? And I'm still thinking of a lot of ideas and um, different video ideas and topics to talk about on this specific segment. But I just want to start talking about football in general across the world, soccer in general across the world. You guys that have been here on the channel since I started in earlier this year, or sometime last, or late last year, earlier this year. I make a lot of Inter Miami content, a lot of Argentina content, and then on occasion I'll post videos about just soccer news or events that are happening around the world. And that's what I want to bring that to the live streams because a lot of you will enjoy the live streams and interacting with me live. And so I thought this would be a great moment. The MLS season is about to end. We're approaching that off season, and Premier League, La Liga, all the European leagues around the world, Champions League. We have international windows that are still going to be going on while we're in the off season. So I think this would be an appropriate time to start talking about these topics around the world. So now I thought it would be a good starting point for this first episode to talk about this upcoming international window, as well as maybe talking about U.S. men's national team since I'm American, based in Florida. I'm also Argentinian, so we're going to be talking about the Argentinian national team. We'll talk about their situations. We'll mention some other news in there as well, and then at the end, after talking about this international roundup, maybe if we have some time at the end, we'll talk about some other news across the world. If not, then tomorrow I'll be back live and we'll talk about some other things that I'll mention briefly at the end. So you guys can stay tuned for that. But without further ado, I think we should get straight into it. I made this presentation with a bunch of visuals, and just bullet points and facts for you guys. So you guys can keep up with my notes as I'm talking. So you guys have something to look at while I do all of this. So yeah, man, the SoFlo Saga. This is episode 1. So obviously, this is gonna be the agenda for today, right? It was a lot longer, but I didn't put the entire agenda simply because I don't know if we're gonna have time to go through everything. I do want to keep these streams to an hour long and not any more than that because I don't expect you guys to be here for longer than that. So I'm trying to keep this to an hour, but I think everything that I'm gonna cover today is gonna take around that time. But anyways, the first thing on the agenda is we're going to talk about Klopp's new position. If you didn't hear, Klopp has got a new job in the football/soccer world. That we'll talk about that. We're going to do our international roundup. First, we're going to talk about the U.S. men's national team, Pochettino and his squad. We have updates on Gregg Berhalter, and which we'll talk about that as well. Argentina. We're going to talk about who's starting, squad updates, injuries, the hurricane impact that's happening here in Florida that could be impacting Argentina's next game that should be tomorrow or Friday. We'll have to see, against Venezuela in the World Cup qualifying. We'll go over that. And then we'll go over some other key points in this international window that I think that people should be looking out for in terms of the Nations League and things like that, just like kind of fun facts and things like that. So, without further ado, let's just get into the first point in the agenda. Jurgen Klopp has found himself a new job. He will be the first of all, he got a job for Red Bull, man. One of the biggest franchises in the world, one of the biggest companies in the world. He secured a job as Red Bull's head of global head of global soccer. And that position he'll be starting in January of next year. So he'll be seeing everything, um, everything that Red Bull does internationally in terms of football, in terms of networking, in terms of coaching, in terms of transfer strategies. He'll be a very, very big part of Red Bull's future and their global brand and their global networking. It's going to be an amazing, amazing step forward for Red Bull. And this is honestly a good position for Jurgen Klopp. I mean, like with 25 years of coaching experience, for him to now mentor the people at Red Bull, coaches under Red Bull. And this is Red Bull all over the world, right? Like we have Red Bull, we have Red Bull Salzburg, we have Red Bull in Brazil, we have the New York Red Bulls. We even have Leeds, if you could see there. I have an image here. I'll move my face just a little bit over here. In the image, it says here we have Red Bull Leipzig, Salzburg, New York, and then Bragantino in Brazil. And then we have Leeds. Red Bull actually have a minority stake for Leeds United. Don't know if Jurgen Klopp will have any sort of connection to that, but I mean, he did say he didn't want to work with any other Premier League club, so he'll probably not take any control over that. But it's still good to see Jurgen Klopp be involved in the game. He said it himself that even though he doesn't see himself on the sideline, coaching for a specific team, he does love the sport. He this is his passion, this is his love, and he wants to still be involved in the game somehow. He recently turned down that job for a U.S. men's national team when we were urgently hiring for a coach, and then we landed on Mauricio Pochettino. Um, but yeah, man. I mean, like being the new global head of football at Red Bull is just an absolutely amazing position to fill. This is a great step for Red Bull. Olivier Mintzlaff, the Red Bull chief executive, said he called Jurgen Klopp the strongest signing in their soccer history, which says a lot, right? I mean, like, and anybody would be happy to have a person like Jurgen Klopp at their side. So I just wanted to open up with this. This is gonna be like types of news that will go on a regular basis that when we're not talking about international football. Um, but I just wanted to open up with that because I think that was like the biggest headline that came out today, this morning. So I just wanted to open up with that headline. There is, however, some controversy. I think it's on the next slide. Yes, there is some controversy with this move, however. So there's a good side. It's an amazing move, but there's also a bad side to this. And I want to go over it. You could read the bullet points here if you'd like. But essentially speaking, um, Klopp might receive some backlash from a lot of German fans, right? He'll receive a lot of backlash, criticism. And that's because Red Bull Leipzig that play in the Bundesliga don't really they're not really liked over there in Germany. And that's mainly because of Germany's a rule that Germany has. So for those of you who don't know, in the Bundesliga, in German soccer, there is a rule called the 50+1 rule that gives fans a big say. Essentially, they make almost the final decision on how clubs run and what goes on in certain clubs. That's just kind of a simple way to put it, right? But Red Bull found a way to go by this rule without having, while still having a lot of control. Excuse me. So the final, so like they found a way to work around this 50+1 rule, and which doesn't sit well with a lot of fans, um, a lot of German fans who love and are very passionate about the very traditional way of soccer in their lives. So that's why Red Bull is not really a big. It's not really a big. It's it's not loved, right? It's not liked. They kind of hate on Red Bull because it's just like a money machine. Like all they just see like, oh, it's all a business, it's all money. All they care about is money. So um obviously Jurgen Klopp managed Dortmund, so he's very, very popular. He's very, very popular in Germany. But yeah, no, they may not be. He may be creating a lot of enemies with fans after this move, but we'll see. I don't know. This is just maybe like I could have. This is just something I thought about. I'm like, well, Red Bull is not really liked in Germany. Everybody really bashes on it because of the money aspect and things like that. But so yeah, maybe this could cause some controversy over in Germany, over in Red Bull, over in the Bundesliga. But hey, I mean, if somehow under Klopp's help with helping coaches, be better with in terms of finding a better players and scouting and things like that and networking, if he can somehow be somewhat responsible for a very, very like positive uptick in Red Bull's trajectory in terms of league placement, not just in the Bundesliga but around the world, but mainly in the Bundesliga, then I think people will start looking and be like, oh, it's all about money, it's all business, yada yada yada. So I just wanted to bring that up in the conversation as well. Even though this is a good thing, there's always the bad and the good. But I do want to shed more light in the good. This is a great move for Jurgen Klopp and Red Bull, and hopefully a lot of positive things come out of this. But that's the first part of the agenda. The second part of the agenda, we're going to go now. We'll jump into the international football. We're going to jump into the U.S. men's national team. Mainly, before we talk about the current head coach, Mauricio Pochettino, I do want to talk about our previous head coach, Gregg Berhalter. Gregg Berhalter is he just became the director of football for the Chicago Fire in the MLS, and at the end of the season, he will become the new head coach for the Chicago Fire. This is kind of crazy to me, right? And so Berhalter will oversee the first team for Chicago, the Fire FC 2, which is the MLS Next Pro team, and the academy team. The current head coach Frank Klopp will step down to transition to vice president of football. Don't know if there's any Chicago fans that's watching this right now. I would love to get your opinions or thoughts in the comments down below. Is this a good move? Do you like this at all? I mean, me personally, I would look at this. I mean, like, you can look at it from two sides, right? I mean, like, from two different angles. In my personal opinion, with the amount of time that Gregg Berhalter had with the national team, I feel like he just hasn't really accomplished a lot, or barely anything important, I should say. The best thing that our national team has probably seen in the last couple of years under his helm was that 2022 World Cup run, where the USA made it past the group stage. I think we made it to the first qualifying round, and we got knocked out to the Netherlands like 3-1 or something. And that's a great run for the US with zero expectations, trying to establish themselves as a competitive team. But then in this most recent Copa America, we got absolutely embarrassed by teams like Panama, and we didn't even make it out the group stage. And so for him to now be the head coach of an MLS team, and not just any MLS team, the Chicago Fire, and I'm gonna try to say this with all the respect in the world. Like, I don't mean any disrespect when I say what I'm about to say, but their Chicago Fire has been one of the worst teams in the MLS, at least for a decade. And I don't think that Gregg Berhalter is going to change the trajectory of the Chicago Fire. Whether that's placing high in the table, making it to playoffs. Like right now, if I were to look right now in the oh my God, where did that go? If I were to look right now, with the standings, the league standings for the Chicago Fire, I believe they're close to bottom. Hold on. So they're not. They have. I don't remember. I mean, I even said it here. The Fire have made the playoffs just twice since 2010 and have been one of the worst teams in the MLS over the past 15 years. Berhalter does have MLS coaching experience, managing the Crew, leading them to the MLS Cup in 2015 and 2017 to the Eastern Conference Final. But guys, that was almost 10 years ago. That was almost 10 years ago. And that was almost 10 years ago, and that wasn't even the Chicago Fire. The Chicago Fire were struggling even before that. Chicago Fire are currently sitting 15th in the league standings. They're currently 15th in the Eastern Conference, and in the Supporter Shield, they're the second worst team in the Supporter Shield. So this is not a very promising Chicago Fire side. And from what I've witnessed Gregg Berhalter do with the national team, especially recently in the Copa America, what hope does he give me in this, like him managing a team in the MLS? I'm not a Chicago Fire fan, I don't like essentially I don't care about the Chicago Fire and and whatever, but I do care about hiring what has been known to be a pretty poor manager performance wise with teams and hiring him to try to change a team for the better, because this is not it. I said it before when Gregg Berhalter was the manager for the U.S. men's national team that he wasn't going to be the man to bring any sort of success to this nation, and I still believe that. I'm really glad that he's gone. I'm really glad we have Mauricio Pochettino, who I think has a lot more potential and just can actually get something out of this team. And seeing Berhalter in the MLS, I think is going to be a disaster for the Chicago Fire. I really hope that's not the case, right? Like I'm not praying on his downfall. Like I'm really not trying to pray on his downfall, but at the same time, I don't think anything is going to come out of this. I really hope the Chicago Fire could really see the light at the end of the tunnel and really can get something good out of this. But from my prediction and from what I can think and just my overall general opinion, I don't think this is the best move in the world. I really wish that Chicago Fire could have done better. And moving their current head coach as vice president of football, I mean, like, I don't know what that's about. Like, I don't know anything about Frank Lopez's background. And I mean, like, he currently led his team to being one of the worst teams in the MLS this season. And for that person to be your vice president of football just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I have zero clue. Zero clue what the thought process here at Chicago Fire is. Like I said, if you're a Chicago Fire fan and you know anything about this or you know more information about these moves, I would love to hear them in the comments down below. But anyways, um, yeah, man. I mean, there's nothing really more to say about that. Yeah, no. I mean, like, so okay, no, I did write in my notes that Berhalter will have two designated player slots open for the next season. This includes the slot of Shaqiri. Shaqiri left like at some point this season, like literally, I think over the summer, um, to go back to I believe it was Basel, to FC Basel. And so now they have he has two DP slots, so he does have some wiggle room to make Chicago a little better. Don't know who's gonna come to Chicago though. Like I don't know what convincing you would need to come to Chicago. Don't know what the marketing plan is for that. But hey, we'll see how it is. But that's in my opinion. Don't think anything good is gonna come off of this. But moving on. So let's move on. Let's talk about the actual current U.S. men's national team under our beloved Mauricio Pochettino. Um, the cavalry has arrived is what I'm gonna say about this, because Mauricio Pochettino has finally confirmed his staff additions. We essentially knew who was gonna come in, but it's been confirmed. I think it was, I don't know if it was today or a couple days ago, but it was sometime this week. It was confirmed. Uh, the behind the scenes staff members that will be partnered with Mauricio Pochettino in what we hope to be a new era for the U.S. men's national team, and what hopefully we can see an upward projection in their success and in their performances on the field. But so yeah, the U.S. Soccer has announced 5 new additions to U.S. men's national team technical and high performance staff under head coach Mauricio Pochettino. We're gonna go over them one by one, just give a little bit of background on everything. I won't go too much into detail because I know most of you don't even know who these people are, but it's important to know kind of a gist of who they are and why Mauricio Pochettino brought them in, and we'll give my opinions on that. So we have first Jesus Perez. He will be that assistant coach to Pochettino. He started as an analyst for Pochettino at Espanyol, and he's followed him throughout his European career. It's kind of crazy how Jesus Perez has been with Pochettino pretty much since the beginning of his essential coaching career, almost beginning of his coaching career. And he is once again following Mauricio Pochettino to the men's national team. And so this is this is not just Jesus Perez. Like, this is going to be like every single coach here has been with Mauricio Pochettino for a really, really long time. And these guys have been with each other through Spurs, and they're like you could call it success at Spurs, even though they didn't really win any trophies, but they made deep runs and contested heavily for a top four spot in the Premier League. Um, and yeah, but essentially, like I think this is good. Honestly, in my opinion, no matter who we talk about in terms of assistant coaches, they're all going to be good because they're all an improvement to what we had in the past, right? And that includes with Mickey D'Agostino, another assistant coach that will be with Mauricio Pochettino there on the left, as you can see right here. He played with Pochettino in Argentina, has been part of his staff pretty much for the majority of the clubs that he's been with. This is one of the main ones, Tony Jimenez. He is the new goalkeeping coach, a former Spanish gold medalist. Jimenez has worked with Pochettino since 2011, has been with him in his realm at at his home at Spurs, um, and just will bring a lot of experience to this team. I think we have quite a few like pretty quality goalkeepers, and I think with the experience that Tony Jimenez has in his resume, I think it could really improve our goalkeeping, um, overall quality. I think like with the experience he has, it definitely should improve our quality tremendously. Um, and last but not least, I mean, this one is kind of a question mark because this is his son. This is Sebastiano Pochettino, Mauricio's son. He will serve as a sports scientist, having worked with his father since 2016 at Tottenham, PSG, and Chelsea. So ever since that, he essentially graduated from college. He's been following his dad everywhere. Don't know too much about this one. I mean, like he's a sports scientist, so he's not really doing anything technical to the players, like in terms of training on the field, but in terms of health wise, hey, we have Mauricio Pochettino's son. And I put a little note right here. It says Vincent Caven and US Soccer have mutually parted ways as he was one of the assistant coaches that Gregg Berhalter brought in. So I don't think there are any staff that that stayed from Berhalter's like days. Like I think everybody that Gregg Berhalter brought in has left. But anyways, and this is some crazy this is some, well, not crazy news, I shouldn't say that, but he did announce the team. He did announce who he wants to bring in as the team for these friendly games, right? And but these are some injuries that happened. We took two pretty hard knocks, right? In Florian and Balogun and Tim Weah. These are two very, very crucial, very bad knocks for us, right? These are pretty bad injuries, very important injuries. Tim Weah being probably one of the better ones. Balogun regaining his form this season after really not having the best club performances last year. I don't even know how much he played, to be honest. I don't even thinking about it off the top of my head. But um, Balogun, I know freshly off the top of my head, he dislocated his shoulder in his recent win, in a 2-1 win that Monaco has had. And they actually currently sit first place in Ligue 1 over PSG, being one of the three teams that still remain undefeated after 7 games in Ligue 1. So Balogun is going to be a huge loss. Tim Weah injured. He had to be removed from the roster, from the original roster that was called up, and Johnny Cardoso also being called out. In terms of the players that we brought in, okay? In terms of the players that we have brought in, we have first up, I want to Tanner Tessman, 23-year-old midfielder who captained the U.S. Olympic team this past summer. He currently plays for Lyon, which is a huge deal for him, honestly. Where are all my... Did I close them out on accident? I definitely closed them out on accident. Actually, no. Let me change this really quickly. But yes, Tanner Tessman, I think... I mean, like, it's kind of weird, right? Because people are going to make fun of kind of just the quality overall that the U.S. men's national team have. But honestly, I think even though these new additions have not been like anything crazy, like these are not like game-changing players, right? Like these are not game-changing players for the U.S. But I think regardless with players like Tessman or players like Brendan Vasquez and even Alejandro Zendejas, um, I think it could provide just a little bit of depth, maybe some rotation and to our team. They probably won't be getting any starts, um, but we'll just see how it goes. But Tessman had a pretty interesting career in my opinion. Like I was looking him up honestly before I started this stream. If I could show you guys essentially what he's been through. So he started off with he played in USL 1. That's how he started his career off, in playing in the USL. Then he played for Chicago, I'm pretty sure. He played for Chicago for quite a bit of time. Yeah, for quite a bit, like maybe like 2-3 years. He made his first his move to Europe to Venezia in Serie B, and now this season he started his first year with Lyon, which is a huge move for him. This is a great move for him, and hopefully he hasn't really been getting like too many minutes. He made one start in the 4 games that he's played, and he played DM. He played 67 minutes, then he came off. They ended up winning that game 2-1 against Toulouse. Other than that, he's been coming off the bench. He played 3 minutes here, 2 minutes there. He made his start, and then he played 16 minutes against a 2-0 win against Nantes. It's so he's slowly getting minutes for these big, for a big European side like Lyon, which is really good for him. And hopefully, maybe he can get more minutes for the men's national team, because that'll show some good some good. I mean, like, how old is he? What is he? 25? I said 23. He's 20. He's 23. He just turned 23 in September. So he has a future. He definitely has a future with the men's national team, and it's definitely somebody to look out for. Um, Vasquez. Let's talk about Vasquez. I want to talk about Alejandro last. Vasquez currently plays in Liga MX. He currently has 4 goals and 8 appearances for the U.S. men's national team and returned to the U.S. for the first time since 2023 Gold Cup, which he scored 3 goals in that competition. He currently plays, or Cup, not competition. He currently plays for Monterrey in Mexico in the Liga MX, having tallied 3 goals in 12 matches this season. Not really too much for Brandon Vasquez. Don't really have much to talk about for him. Not really, definitely not going to be any starter. Might not even see the field, to be honest, with the amount of players that we have in his position. But I guess it's somebody good to have off the bench. Definitely, I mean, like, yeah, even with the absence of Balogun and Tim Weah, and even with Johnny Carter, like, I don't see Brandon Vasquez like making a start. Maybe he can come off the field. We have no idea, because this is the first time we're going to see Mauricio Pochettino take charge of this U.S. men's national team. So honestly, it's going to be very exciting to see what kind of tactic or what kind of approach he's going to make in terms of this national team. Whether maybe he will play fucking Brandon Vasquez. We have no idea. But the main guy that I want to talk about, and I'll talk about him for a little bit, is Alejandro Zendejas. Or Zendejas, excuse me. Alejandro, right? Or Alex for short. He's a 26-year-old Mexican-born player who committed to the U.S. Now, these are always very tricky and very controversial, right? When you have a player who was, when you have a player who was born in Mexico, who kind of grew up in Mexico, then started his professional career in the U.S., and then kind of is in this tug of war between Mexico and U.S., and then he ends up choosing like U.S., it's always going to cause problems. And I say that because he actually represented Mexico. He literally represented Mexico. I was reading this article trying to get more information, more background on why he didn't commit to Mexico and how it just didn't happen. But he played for the Mexican youth teams, I'm pretty sure. And then no, I lied. He played for El Tri, like the first team for Mexico. And he played in friendlies. He played in some friendlies. Yeah, he played for Chivas, and then he played for the U15, U17 teams for the U.S. national team. He played with the likes of Christian Pulisic, with Tyler Adams. I'm pretty sure with Weston McKennie, and I think even Brandon Vasquez. They all play together, so they have experience playing together. He played in that U17 World Cup in 2015, and he switched his allegiance to Mexico. Blend played for their 21 and U23 teams. In October 2021, Zendejas, 25, made his senior Mexican national team debut in a friendly, but he and the Mexican Federation didn't file the necessary paperwork for him to switch nationality. So he played and represented with Mexico. It was a friendly game, so it's not an official game. But then they couldn't sign any paperwork to actually make him a Mexican player and for him to commit to Mexico. So 6 months later, he played for El Tri in another friendly because he only played in friendlies, he was technically still eligible to represent the U.S. So the U.S. called him up for the January camp earlier this year, and he accepted and he debuted for them on January 25th versus Serbia in a friendly game. At this point, FIFA started to pay more attention, and Mexico were in trouble, or they were in trouble because FIFA forced Mexico to forfeit the 2 games Zendejas played with El Tri and issued a fine of $11,000. Zendejas didn't decide. Still at that point, Zendejas has not yet decided to choose between Mexico or USA. Mexico became impatient. They started talking between the two nations, and then ultimately the next month, or so, he decided to choose U.S. He still plays in Mexico. He still plays in Mexico. I believe right now he plays for Club America, and now he's gonna be called up again, which is great for him, right? I mean, like it's good to see opportunities like this happen for players like him because apparently he's been doing really, really well in Mexico. And maybe we'll get to see him, kind of shine in this, for the U.S. men's national team. It's not the first time we've seen him, like I said, play for the first team. I think he's played a total of 7 games for the U.S. men's national team since he debuted in 2020, earlier in 2023 last year in January. He played 7 games, scored 1 goal, but really hasn't really done much. Maybe now we'll see more of him. Maybe a rotation, maybe being a rotational player. It says here that he plays attack right wing. So maybe, that's where Pulisic plays essentially, right? So, but maybe he can come off the bench for Pulisic if he ever gets tired or doesn't want to risk him. And but we'll have to see. It's going to be very interesting for the U.S. men's national team this international window because we have 2 pretty big games. The first one being Panama. We play Panama on October 12th. And if you guys remember, we lost to Panama. Like the USA lost to Panama in the Copa America. We lost to Panama 2-1 in the Copa America. So this is going to be a huge, huge, huge game. Huge, huge game. And not only that, that's on October 12th. That's, I believe, on Friday. Or Saturday, excuse me. That's at Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Then, in the next game on Tuesday, a couple of days later, on Tuesday, we play Mexico at the Estadio Akron. This is going to be a crazy freaking game, guys. Playing Mexico at the Estadio Akron, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. This is insane. What a way to introduce yourself to the U.S. men's national team. Playing against Panama, a team that you should have beaten the Copa America. It's a team that is probably responsible. Yeah, I think that result against Panama essentially resulted in you not qualifying for the knockout round, even though they did lose to, I believe it was Uruguay. And now you're playing freaking your arch nemesis, your main rivals, Mexico, who still have not been the same Mexico that we've been seeing, in these last couple of years. But this is a Mexico that has been more in form than this U.S. men's national team. So this is a Mexico team that have not been the best in recent times, in recent years, but they have been a lot better than the U.S., in my opinion, especially with these international tournaments, with the international friendlies in these last, 1 or 2 years, 3 years, essentially since the last World Cup. And this definitely is a better it looks like a better Mexico team. They lost a lot of players, but a lot of experienced players, a lot of really good players, but they still have young talent. They still have the likes of Montes. They have players like Quinones. They have Jimenez. They have Romo in the midfield with Luis Chavez, and they have pretty good players regardless. So this is going to be a very interesting challenge for the U.S. men's national team, and to see what Mauricio Pochettino could actually do against a team like Mexico and even like Panama, because even though Panama, they're not a good team, they're in retrospect and compared to everybody else, they're not a good team, but we lost to them. So this international window for the U.S. men's national team is going to be very, very important. All eyes are going to be on the U.S. and Mauricio Pochettino, and even players like Pulisic, who has been the best player. Not even arguably. I was going to say arguably the best player, but not arguably. He has been the best player in Serie A. He is the best player that the United States has ever seen. So all eyes are going to be on him. And he's in his prime now. I think he's approaching his prime. So this is probably the best Pulisic that we're going to see ever. Probably. Or maybe we'll probably have another 3 years of this. 2 or 3 years of this. Hopefully, if everything goes well. But yes, all eyes are going to be on this U.S. men's national team side. And I'm very, very excited. And I can't wait to watch these games live. But anyways, we'll continue on. But that wraps up U.S. men's national team talk. We still have, how much are we in? We're 40 minutes in. We're gonna talk about Argentina. We'll talk about some scenario. We'll talk about squad updates and all of them, and then we'll start wrapping it up after that. So I don't keep you guys here for too long. But we have Argentina to talk about. They play Venezuela in it's supposed to be tomorrow, but I'll get to that in a minute. We're playing Venezuela in the World Cup qualifiers. This is it's supposed to be an easy game for Argentina, right? I mean, let's just be honest here. This is no disrespect to Venezuela. Venezuela have been very good actually in relatively being good in terms of being competitive in these World Cup qualifying games. They only have one loss in these last 5 qualifying games that they played. It was against Bolivia, and to be honest, Bolivia are one of the worst teams in CONMEBOL, but they moved up to 8. They got 2 wins in their Bolivia had 2 wins here. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. Bolivia got 2 wins in their last couple of qualifying matches to Chile, which is huge, and then Bolivia. Chile have really been in a terrible run of form. But anyways, Venezuela in their last 5 games, they only won once, and it was against Chile. But Chile are really bad form. They tied to Ecuador, though they were competitive against Ecuador. They tied to Peru, who have been the worst team so far this competition. Lost to Bolivia, and then they tied to Uruguay, which was very, very impressive. So this could be a very sleeper kind of Venezuela that we could be seeing, but it still should be a team that Argentina and the world champions and the Copa America champions should be beating. The starter for this game, according to Gaston Edul, are as follows. Messi will be starting. Now, there obviously have been a lot of question marks with Messi having not playing proper football for about 3 months, ever since he got that very crazy ankle injury in the Copa America final against Brazil. Again, in the Copa America final. Not Brazil. Why did I say Brazil? Against Colombia. Because we normally play Brazil in the finals, but it's crazy. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, in the Copa America final against Colombia, he took that crazy ankle injury, and then now he's been getting a lot of minutes, he's been getting good minutes with Inter Miami on literally his first game back back to proper football, he scored 2 goals and got an assist. He literally got 3 goal contributions his first game back to football. And Miami has been monitoring his minutes, and he is looking good. So Messi will be starting, according to Gaston Edul. Julian Alvarez is another player that will be starting. He just recently made his move to Atletico Madrid. It's been kind of on and off for him. He recently scored a goal. To be honest, the in the league, I'm pretty sure the one before that they just lost um to Benfica 4-0 Atletico Madrid, and Julian started that game. Didn't really do much. Nobody on that team on Atletico Madrid really did anything. But I love Julian Alvarez. I have his shirt right there. Um, and hopefully he can be more impactful for this international team and for this international window. Excuse me. The other players that are for sure starting, according to Gaston Adul, are Geronimo Rulli, Lisandro Martinez, and Nicolas Otamendi. Um, Christian Romero is obviously suspended for the accumulation of yellow cards. So in his place, we have Pesela traveling as well. So he will be a backup there. It is not likely that he will start. Um, but according to Gaston Edul, Lisandro and Otamendi will be the center back partnership, or at least, well, yeah, no, but at least starting as defenders. We don't know if Lisandro will start as a left back or not, because we are also missing some other players like Marcos Acuna. We are missing players like Nico Gonzalez, who could be playing on that left back spot. Eh, Lisandro has been questionable for Manchester United as of late at club, if you want to talk about club level, at the center back spot. But honestly, I highly rate Lisandro Martinez being one of the better defenders in not just in Conmebol, but in the world, to be honest. I mean, like, that could be kind of a stretch. But I think his performances are really, really good, especially in those central. But I mean, like, I think in left back he plays phenomenally too. But I think in the center back he's definitely a good player, and him partnered with El Cuti Romero is a really good partnership. Now, Cuti is not here. We have Nicolas Otamendi. A lot of people don't like this decision in terms of, starting Nicolas Otamendi because of his age and because we have other players that maybe could be given a chance. But Nicolas Otamendi, is essentially is the captain of the team. Now that we don't have Di Maria anymore, and then Messi is essentially on his way out, Nicolas Otamendi is kind of the next in line. But honestly, in my opinion, I think we would need to play another defender. I mean, like, not because I don't think Otamendi is good, and not because I don't think we need a leader in that back line. I just think that Otamendi doesn't have that much time left, and I don't think he's going to be making it to the World Cup. Like, I don't know. Like, the World Cup is in in a year and a half. Nicolas Otamendi is really up there in age, and I don't know if he's going to make it there as a player or even let alone as a starter. So we should be playing. We should be looking at other options. That is just my opinion. I'll go over the entire team that has been called up to this window in a couple of slides. I have like 2 more slides before I get to that. But yeah, and then we have Alexis McAllister, who will not be playing, at least for the first game, because of fitness reasons. According to Scaloni, he says, and I quote, McAllister is training separately. We will see if he will make it. It is difficult for him to make it to the first game, especially because of the fitness issue. We hope not to lose any more players. He suffered an injury, I'm pretty sure, again, when he played for Liverpool. He got subbed out early in one of the games. And then so he's just completely questionable, or yeah, for like to at least play for this first game. But we'll see how it goes. In terms of another update, another big loss for Argentina. I mean, like, no Alexis McAllister, no Romero, no Dibu Martinez. Scaloni. As you guys know, if you guys haven't really been keeping up with Argentina news or Argentina, I guess drama, you can call it too. Dibu Martinez has been suspended for 2 games, for 2 international games, for the Argentina national team, and that was because of his incident with the cameraman last time out. He pushed. I think it was the Colombian cameraman. I think it was when we played against Colombia, where he pushed like the cameraman out of his way because the cameraman was getting all up in his face. So we are going to miss El Dibu Martinez for this next or for these next two games for this window essentially. And this is what Scaloni had to say on Dibu Martinez being suspended. He has already expressed himself and he has been fine. He expressed himself in every very respectful and correct way. It is fair what he said. These are things that cannot happen again, especially because the team cannot afford to have Dibu or Kuti suspended. They are important players. In my case, I do not agree with the sanction. Logically, as a coach, I do not like to lose players. We have to emphasize that when a player is penalized, cautioned, or sent off, it has to be worth it and be part of the game, and that is what is important. I do not agree because much worse things happen and they are not sanctioned. So I don't think so, but I am not the one who sanctions. So yeah, there's been a lot of, I don't want to call it controversy, but there's just been a lot of disagreements in terms of should he have been suspended, should he have not been suspended. People are saying, oh, if this was like an actually important game, maybe they wouldn't have suspended him, but because it's like just, you know, World Cup qualifying, that essentially doesn't matter because we're going to be qualifying anyway, that will suspend him. I don't know. There's been a lot of disagreements to that, but I do agree with Scaloni to some extent because players have done worse and they have not been suspended or fined. Players have done worse. However, El Dibu has been on FIFA's radar for quite a while, for a few years actually. El Dibu Martinez has been responsible for completely changing goalkeepers forever. I feel like, I mean, like just his antics and just his personality has influenced goalkeepers at all levels when it comes to his dancing, his antics, on the ball, off the ball. It's been, he's just been very, very influential. And so he's just been getting a lot of attention and been on the radar of FIFA, so this could explain why he's been sanctioned or why he's been, suspended for these next two games, because he's just, I think FIFA were kind of looking for something for El Dibu to do, for him to get suspended, right? For them to take action on him because he's been doing so much these last couple of years in terms of the antics and the dissent, you can call it, and the dancing and the trash talking and all that. And FIFA really couldn't do anything about it because he didn't really do anything wrong. Now that El Dibu has done something wrong, they were kind of quick to act on it, right? So I agree. So yeah, I think he should be suspended because you really shouldn't be putting your hands on anybody like that. But I understand where Scaloni's coming from. And honestly, I probably would have, instead of a suspension, I think a fine would have been acceptable. I think paying a fine would have been acceptable in my opinion. But that's just me. So I think because he's right. Like this is an important play. Like if this wasn't an important game, if this was an important game for Argentina and they just lost one of their biggest players because of that, like I think it's not fair. I don't know. But then you can turn around and argue like, oh, like he shouldn't have touched the cameraman. So yeah, it's kind of it goes both ways. It's like a seesaw. But he's suspended. Argentina will be missing him these next two games. Hopefully we won't notice it. As much as we should be, or because we do play against who did I say we're playing against right now? Venezuela. We're playing Venezuela away at Venezuela, and then we're gonna be hosting Bolivia, one of the worst, one of the poorer teams in form, I should say. So it shouldn't really be affecting us too much, and in the bigger picture. But some other injuries and some other players that we will be missing is, like I said, Nico Gonzalez. He's been injured, so he has not been called up. We have Garnacho, who is no longer in the team after picking up an injury. McAllister is injured. We have Carboni, who suffered an injury this morning as we're going live. Today's Wednesday, October 9th. He got injured. He got an injury on his left knee, and he will be out for these next two qualifying matches. We don't know how long he'll be out for after this. That information is yet to be given, but literally like an hour before I went live or 2 hours before I went live, like they brought out this news. So it was pretty big. Dybala is out of the squad, injured. Marcos Acuna injured, and in Acuna's place they brought in 19-year-old Julio Soler, who is a left back from Lanús, who had a good Olympic performance. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I haven't seen Soler play for Lanús. Like, I don't like watch him day in and day out. I try to look him up quite a bit before the stream went live, but I don't want to be fake and lie to you guys and say that he's good when he's actually not. So I don't know how he's going to be. Don't know if he's actually going to touch the field. Maybe he will, and I kind of hope that he does, because I really want to see him perform at a high level, at a higher level that he has been, and see if he can handle it or not. So Julio Soler is somebody to look after, or somebody to look forward to, maybe possibly within these next two games, especially without having Acuna or Nico Gonzalez available for the left back spot. Christian Romero, I already said, he's suspended with the accumulation of yellow cards. And we also brought in Bonanote, which I don't think will be seeing the field, but it's a good option to have as a backup. Also, fun fact, I'll move my face over just for a second, but Scaloni will be speaking today in an interview at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I'm pretty sure, like my time. So if you're Eastern time in the United States, 6 p.m., I think in Argentina it'd be 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. But yes. So Scaloni, I'll be looking into that, and I'll update you guys if he says anything noteworthy, worthy of mentioning, and not just any repeats of what we've discussed today. But this is the roster essentially. This is the Argentina roster. I put some notes there to kind of clarify things and kind of update it a little more. But this was the original list, and with the exceptions of Garnacho, Dybala, Carboni, McAllister, Acuna, they are out. Everybody else is here. We have everybody else. We still have Tagliafico, who can play the left back position. We have Pesela, we have Valeri, we have I forgot to X out Romero, but we have Molina. In the goalkeeper, we have Musso and Benitez behind Rulli. We still have Rodrigo de Paul in the midfield with Palacios, Paredes, Enzo Fernandez, Lo Celso, Thiago Almada, who now plays in Botafogo. We don't have Nico Gonzalez. We're going to cross him out. We have Nico Paz from Como, who's, I believe, is on loan from Real Madrid. So that's somebody exciting. Hopefully, we can maybe see him off the bench. Lautaro Martinez and Julian Alvarez, and of course, Lionel Messi as the attackers. I do want to bring up someone, and that is Montiel. I put question marks next to his name because I think that this is something that needs to be discussed. I feel like this is a situation that has been kind of swept under the rug, especially in recent times. After the World Cup, I should say, right? Like ever since the World Cup has ended, I feel like, not just Montiel himself, but I feel like Sevilla haven't really been in a good spot. But Montiel specifically, I don't even think he's played this season, which is not good, right? This is not something you want. Like, this doesn't make you feel safe. Because Montiel, I think he's played. Yeah, I'm trying to look it up now. He's played 2 games for Sevilla this season. And they have both been. He's played 45 minutes he played against Valladolid, and I can't see who the other team is. But he's only played 2 games, so he hasn't done anything. And it's very questionable. Don't know if he's actually going to be getting a start. Highly, highly doubt it. But, what's his face? Molina for Atleti has been getting more game time. He's been starting essentially pretty much every game this year so far. And he hasn't really been performing bad at that position for them as well. Like, he is their guy. He is Atleti's guy. So we could be seeing Molina starting over Montiel, and just in terms of performance wise. But I just wanted to bring this up because it's like, why are we still calling Montiel? I understand like he has experience with the team. He is familiar with this squad, and he won the World Cup with it's literally Montiel scored the winning penalty kick to win us the World Cup. So I understand in that aspect, but I mean, like, so maybe they just call him up out of respect, but should we still be calling up Gonzalo Montiel for to the national team? I mean, in just he's not playing games. We could be calling maybe somebody else up in his place, maybe to get them more experience, or maybe to find just a better informed right back. I'm surely there's a better informed right back, Argentinian right back, that is playing in the Argentinian league in Europe, um anywhere, like literally anywhere. Scaloni has said that it has been harder to call up players, especially from Europe, because of the match congestion. They don't want to be a lot of European clubs don't really want to be sending out their players too often like this, because they need them. So that's why we've seen the call ups of Soler and things like that. But I think we should be looking elsewhere for a right back, because I think this right back situation is going to eventually bite us in the ass, and we're either going to be left with a right back in Montiel and just have Molina, or like I don't know, like we're gonna be eventually stuck with Molina, which is not a bad thing, but we need a backup for Molina. Like, you know what I'm saying? So unless Montiel completely proves me wrong and he just starts performing really well, or continues to perform well with the national team, then I guess by all means, like, fine. But I don't know. Maybe we should be looking elsewhere, and looking and calling up a younger right back with significant potential, and who has been playing well for his respective team and club. So I don't know. That's just something that I wanted to bring up, because I feel like nobody has been really talking about that. And yes, so we are suffering from a lot of injuries, and you can't really blame these guys, because the match congestion has been kind of crazy. I mean, like, these guys are just playing more and more games every single year, with all the new competitions that are playing, with the old competitions, especially with the new Champions League format, and things like that, the European format. So these guys are playing a lot more football than they've ever played, and a lot of these guys have not yet gotten a break from the Copa America, from the summertime. So players like Julian Alvarez has yet to get a break from football. Like, he has yet to take a vacation. So he's been playing from last year. I think it's been like 2 or 3 years. He's just constantly playing football. I think like since the World Cup, essentially, because like he would go from City to the Copa America, then from there he went to the Olympics, and now he's playing for Atletico Madrid. Um, and then he went back to City. Now he's playing for Atletico Madrid, and he's essentially playing game in and game out. Like, he's essentially playing every game, whether that's off the bench or starting. So yeah, I don't blame these guys for getting injured. Hopefully this doesn't really cause a problem later on down the line, especially when the World Cup comes around. But yeah, hopefully this is something that we can control down the line. I don't know why I didn't mean to do that. I just want to give you guys an update on Hurricane Milton. So if you guys don't know, there is a hurricane that's passing down Florida right now, where I am currently based at. And this was causing some concern in terms of traveling, because Inter Miami are currently training in the Florida Blue Center here in Fort Lauderdale, essentially the Inter Miami Stadium, or the Inter Miami training facility. So they have been kind of worried that their flight would be delayed, because they were supposed to leave right now, essentially. I think they took off an hour ago. But they were supposed to leave an hour ago. Hopefully they did, and hopefully they're doing it safely, because from Miami International Airport, they shouldn't be getting hit. They shouldn't be getting hit by the storm at all, because the storm is more essentially, as you can see in the image that I try to pull up here. I'll move my face so you can see, maybe you can see a little more clearly. You could see from the image. Oh, my bad. You could see in the image here that it is more centrally. Miami is more down here. Yeah, like around here. Let's just say this is more Tampa, Orlando-ish. So they shouldn't be impacted at all. They'll probably be wins regardless. But here is where I'm like over here. So I'm like just missing the cutoff, but we're still getting a lot of wind and rain. Um but we are safe. I'm not in evacuation zone or anything. So yeah. So hopefully so yeah, the reason why I bring this up was because they were going to plan to reschedule the game for they were supposed to play tomorrow. They were going to reschedule it for Friday because of traveling and all that stuff. But I think they're proceeding on schedule and things like that. So we shouldn't be worried about it too much. Um and yeah, by the time Argentina return to Miami or Messi returns to Miami, the storm should be gone. So hopefully we won't have to worry about it. Justin in the chat, welcome. I appreciate you being here. You're saying, I hope no injuries for Messi. We could talk about that actually for a minute. So Messi, I don't know how much you want to see Messi play. I mean, it's I don't know how much you want to see Messi play in terms of, just the amount of minutes he actually gets for Argentina. In my personal opinion, he shouldn't be playing the full 90 minutes for both games. He definitely should be limited to some extent, whether he plays for 60 minutes and gets subbed off or starts on the bench and then gets subbed on and in the 60th minute, in the 50th minute, whatever, 70th minute, whatever case it may be. But like we really need him at Inter Miami. And we really can't afford to lose Messi at Inter Miami, and not even just for Inter Miami's sake, but for Messi's sake. He can't be suffering this many like another bad injury of with the history that he has and with all the already discomfort he has in his legs and in his knees and things like that. He's gonna end up being like Suarez if he keeps this up. So I really hope that my dog is like walking around me, so that's why I'm looking all down here. So I apologize, but that's why like I hope they really limit his minutes for this window. We really can't afford to lose him. Argentina got a lot of players who were injured for these games. Yeah, we just went over it. I'm pretty sure hopefully you were here because we just went over the injury list. I mean, like this is the list that I made for that. Here, I'll put myself up here. But yeah, no, we are suffering from a lot of injuries, Argentina, and it is pretty it's expected, right? With the amount of games that we've been playing, like I've said, with the congestion in the new European formats, and there are literal players that haven't gotten breaks since the summertime, and they haven't taken a vacation yet. So this stuff like this is supposed to be expected, but it just sucks, right? It's really unfortunate. Carboni has literally got injured this morning. And it's unsure how long he'll be out for, but he'll for sure not be available for for these next two games. But I mean, yeah, that's enough Argentina information from me. I mean, that's all really that I took notes on. All we can do, I'll be live again after the game tomorrow to talk about the game, the performance, to see what kind of team we'll be putting out there. I'm very looking forward to seeing what we can put on display against Venezuela at Venezuela. In terms of starting 11 wise, I didn't make a graphic or anything. I honestly didn't have time for it. I was too busy working on this PowerPoint, to be honest, which took a minute. But in terms of starting 11, I do expect Ruli's going to be our starting goalkeeper with Otamendi, and I'm assuming it's going to be Lisandro Martinez. Tagliafico should be our starting left back, and honestly, Molina should be taking the starting right back spot over Montiel. Just in terms of performance wise, like Montiel has literally not touched the pitch for Sevilla this season. For midfield wise, it's always the hardest. Now that we don't have McAllister on the field, I feel like it's going to be a lot more difficult in terms of creativity, in terms of playmaking, in terms of progressing the ball up the field. We don't have any playmakers in our midfield. We have Paredes, we have Enzo Fernandez, we have De Paul, we have Palacios, we have Lo Celso. I think that Lo Celso could be making a start in that midfield. And I think that Paul could be seeing that. It's going to be very difficult. The midfield could consist of, I think Enzo's gonna make a start. It could be De Paul. I feel like I can't see a world where De Paul doesn't start. So De Paul could be sitting, be a starter. I want to see freaking Palacios play, dude. I want to see Ezequiel Palacios play for the Argentina team. He was literally the best midfielder last season, in the world. He was the best midfield, in my opinion. He was one of the best players in the world last season in the midfield, and he's barely seen anything. Like he's barely seen the pitch for Argentina. My dog is all over me right now, guys. Like he's like I think he wants to leave, so I'll take him out after this. Or I think he's getting scared of the wind. But um, yeah, I really want to see Palacios play. So hopefully we can see him play in the midfield. Maybe we could see Lo Celso also be in that midfield instead of Enzo. But Enzo, like Chelsea, I think have been in a kind of decent. I think they've been performing well. I haven't really been keeping up with Chelsea's performances, but hopefully it's something that we can do. Like he's all over my setup right now. I'm just making sure he doesn't unplug anything. Um, um, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so we don't have McAllister. We don't. We'll probably maybe we'll see a Paredes. I don't know. The midfield is something that we can definitely experiment with. I just really want to see Palacios play. Don't care what anybody else thinks or what the rest of the guys say. I'm assuming I would want to see De Paul, Palacios, and maybe like a Paredes, or even like an Enzo as like a CDM. In terms of attack, Messi and Julian Alvarez are supposedly going to be starting, according to Gaston Edul. So with that being said, um, we could be seeing a 4-3-3. We could be seeing a 4-4-2, which I highly doubt, but maybe we could probably see like the two, like a striker partnership of Julian and Messi. And but for I mean, like most like we'll probably see Lautaro Martinez play, right? We'll probably see Lautaro Martinez play. If not, who else is gonna be who else is gonna be playing up there? Because we don't have Dybala, we don't have Carboni, we have Nico Paz, but he's not gonna start as a striker. He'll probably start on the right or something. We don't have Nico, we don't have Garnacho. Maybe we'll see Almada. I don't know. It's gonna be very, very tough. But I'm going to start wrapping things up because we are over an hour and I don't want to keep you guys here for more than an hour. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for tuning into this first and this debut like episode or of hopefully what could be just a series of the SoFlo show. I mean, I'm still going to be doing Argentina talk, like Selección Central talk. That's a whole separate playlist. So I'm still going to be doing that. So and talk about Argentina separately. But I just want to start this new, like I said, I want to start this new playlist or new podcast or show, whatever you want to call it, talking about just football news around the world. And I just wanted to start now with the international window here, now that the MLS is approaching the off season, and we're not going to be talking too much about Inter Miami as the months progress, like towards December and that. So I'm going to be talking about news and like soccer news, football news around the world, whether that's Premier League, Serie A, Argentina. Probably we'll talk about the Argentinian league. We'll talk about MLS. Well, maybe we'll talk about MLS. We'll talk about the women's league, things like that. So hopefully you guys could be a part of it. Thank you for everybody who's tuned in. Thank you for everybody who's left a comment down below and hit the like button and subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the post-game review for Argentina versus Venezuela, and I hope to see you there. Guys, be safe if you're suffering from this hurricane. And yeah, man, I hope to see you guys tomorrow night. Vamos Argentina, carajo.